Hello and welcome to EyeMedics, where we bring you latest insights on eye health and treatments to protect your vision. I am Bindu, and today we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. I don't know about you, but the moment I see the sun peeking from behind the clouds here in the UK, I go running for my eyeglasses. For me, they are more than a fashion statement, or at least I think so. Are all sunglasses created equal? I don't think so. While they look really great when we're taking selfies on our holidays, but they might not do the job they are supposed to do. That's basically take care of or protect your vision from the harmful UV rays. Joining me today to talk about the subject of sunglasses and how to choose the right one, we have Ms. Shakti Thakur. She is the consultant ophthalmologist and medical retina specialist at EyeMedics. Welcome, Ms. Thakur.
Thank you so much, Bindu. Yes, and I do agree that there's a lot more to think about with sunglasses than most of us realize. And certainly, when I did my own research on this topic, I learned quite a lot, and I'm happy to share that with all of you. In terms of why that's important for the eye health, is that obviously, as most of us these days realize that UV light is damaging for our skin, not as many people realize that UV light is damaging to the retina. And that becomes more important the older we get, because you will have accumulated more years of UV absorption and damage.
I don't like to count the more years, but yes, I agree with you. And that's a great place to start. So most of us actually think that sunglasses are just for the beach or looking cool in the selfies. But I know UV protection is one of the key things they're supposed to do for your eyes. So tell us, why is UV protection so important for our eyes?
You may remember the retina is probably the most metabolically active tissue in the body. So what that means is it uses the highest amount of energy and it has the highest turnover in terms of how demanding the cell requirements are. So what that actually means is if you're working harder, then you're likely to wear out sooner. So that translates to aging. If something is working really hard, it is the unfortunate consequence that it's going to start showing signs of aging. And since we are living much longer than we used to, the retina therefore starts showing the signs of aging and the degenerative changes that creates. And for that particular reason, we need to be more mindful of protecting the retina using UV protection. And also don't forget that our lifestyles these days are quite different from how our grandmothers and grandfathers were, say, 20, 30, 40 years ago. We also expose our eyes to a lot of blue light. And blue light from screens, from not just from TV screens and our work computers, but also from our iPhones. There's a very high intensity blue end light exposure, which again is at the harmful end for our eyes. We're exposing them from morning till night.
Wow, I really didn't think about all of that, which you just said, ever from the sunlight to the light from the screens, big, small, and every kind. It's quite interesting. For me, most of my adult life, sunglasses have been a fashion accessory, and I will say, yes, I am guilty of that. So what I want to understand is that, yes, in skincare, people talk about even when it's cloudy, you need your sunscreen and you need this and you need that. Now, do you need to wear glasses when there are clouds outside in the sky, A? And B, do dark lenses of sunglasses actually mean UV protection? Can you explain a little bit to us?
Sure. So UV protection, as with skin, with eyes, is always advised, but that doesn't have to be dark lenses. If you wear glasses, prescription glasses, you can have a transparent layer of UV protection put on it. And I think whenever you're out and about and it's sunny, you may require a darker pair, but just for the everyday, a transparent UV layer is highly recommended. And particularly if there's any history of a degenerative disease or any signs of early macular changes, then for sure you require the UV protection. In terms of the darkness of the glasses, so glasses are graded in different ways. There's a grade 1 to 4 looking at the darkness, 1 being the lightest and 4 being darker. But it's not the darkness of the lens itself that lends the UV protection. It's important to remember that for different conditions and for different activities, you may require different types of glasses. So it's not always that your one pair of sunglasses will suit the entire range of situations that you may be in. So if it's not particularly bright, here's a pair I've got here. This is a cheap and cheerful. It was probably about £5, but importantly, it does have the CEA. There's the CE mark on the inside. So in the UK, look for the CEA mark. In the US, it's called the UV 400 mark. That is absolutely vital. Wherever up you pick your your sunglasses from, you want to make sure it has that mark, which ensures that those lenses have got the UV filter. So that's probably the first thing to say. And then the different colors of the lenses and the different styles. So here we are. Here's a large frame. If we put it on, there we go. So that's quite big. That's quite big. Okay.
That's looking very nice on you.
Thank you. The advantage, not only is it one of those things that people look for in terms of appearance, it's actually good because it's not just covering the eye, it's covering the area around the eye for it gives you an extended protection.
So that sunlight should not sneak in from the sides or from any.
Well, actually, this is just for bright light. But if you were to have macular degeneration, then there are ones where this sidebar is actually thicker and actually provides a proper area of protection all the way around, and those are called wraparound glasses. So they may not look quite as stylish, but if you have those degenerative conditions, then that may be something that you need to consider. Obviously, when it's very bright, the darker the glasses, and there's another dark pair.
Right. What kinds of glasses do you own? I like
different glasses for different circumstance. And here's a pair of polarized glasses I've got. So polarized glasses are great for when it's really bright because it reduces the glare. However, as I have discovered, they're not good if you're driving and have a heads-up display, because of course you can't see your heads-up display anymore. And it may interfere with the view that you get from your smartphone, depending on what's displayed, because obviously it's cutting off some of the layers of reflected light. Different glasses suit different activities and different circumstances. There's a lot more than meets the eye. And when I was looking this up, I actually ventured into several different optician stores at my local mall and found that actually this information was not easy to find. It was not readily displayed. It was only when I went online that I found that there are some decent explanations online, but they're certainly not there in the stores. And I think you would have to ask very specifically for prescription sunglasses before any of that advice is offered.
That's an excellent point. I really have been lured by some pretty looking sunglasses who've probably not protected me from anything, including my own fashion mistakes, if I may say so. But interesting to see your so many pairs of sunglasses. They've given me a little bit of an idea as to how I need to pick my sunglasses for this summer. So coming towards the end of our discussion, if someone's looking to shop for new sunglasses this summer, what is it that you would recommend they keep in mind? If they don't want to buy 4 different, but just one pair of sunglasses, what are the key things they should keep in mind?
I'm going to answer this in 2 different ways.
Right.
But I think it's useful. There's a lot more detail on the blog that I've written about this, and I would recommend that people read that. But it depends on the main activity that you want the sunglasses for. If there's a one-size-fits-all, it's actually surprisingly green sunglasses, and they're not readily available. But green sunglasses are great regardless of the level of brightness. So they work well in really bright conditions, and they work equally well in really dim conditions. They work even in fog, and they increase the contrast, and they don't affect the color perception, because there are some colors that do affect. So if you were to get an amber pair or a red pair, then they seriously distort your colors. But red pairs are preferred by people who are doing sports activities in water, for example. It's really bright and they get a lot of reflection. And purple ones are used by those you might have noticed, skiers wearing blue.
Yes, of course.
Because that works really well even when it's foggy, and it cuts out the excessive glare. But of course, you couldn't use those if you were driving. The red ones are actually banned for that purpose, because you wouldn't be able to see the traffic lights. So different colours work well in different specific conditions. Please read the blog.
Thank you so much. I'm with you on that 100%. Our eyes deserve the best stuff. That's for sure. There's also this whole perception of, I know a few people who never wear sunglasses. So I want to ask you, is it okay to do that? Should we skip wearing sunglasses when spending a lot of time out in the sun? Is that something that you would advise? And if yes, then how do we take care of the UV damage to our eyes?
Yes, I think I was probably guilty of that when I was younger. Okay. I didn't really think about it. But I think now, A, we're living longer, and B, we also have a double hit from the blue light from all our screens, etc., which I would always put them on night shift to minimize that side of exposure. But even a hat with a brim will have a very useful effect, because it will reflect a lot of the UV that's coming from above. Certainly, I would wear some sort of UV protection, even if it's just a clear pair with a transparent layer of UV protection. And anything more than average brightness, I would definitely bring out the sunglasses. I would be a little careful with reactor light, because sometimes they can go too dark too quickly, and that doesn't suit everybody, particularly patients with macular degeneration. They're not necessarily the right type of glasses for them. I think you need to consider your activities. Maybe even if you're sitting outside and it's bright and you don't want to wear glasses, just look for shade overhead. Shade makes a difference. If you're sitting somewhere where there's a lot of reflected light, then sure, I think you've got to have something that's protecting you from that in terms of sunglasses.
Awesome. This conversation has definitely motivated me enough to keep my hat and my sunglasses ready for those British summer days, even though sun pops out for like 5 minutes. But to our listeners, I would say that go ahead, choose the right sunglasses or the right way to protect your eyes from the UV rays. Now, before we wrap up, Ms. Thakur, can you share with our listeners how EyeMedics helps its patients stay on top of UV protection and overall eye health?
We like to consider each patient as an individual, and we're happy to provide the most appropriate advice for each patient, considering their retinal health, their general health, and their very particular requirements in terms of activity and lifestyle.
Fantastic advice, Ms. Thakur, and thank you for shining the light, no pun intended. Thank you to all our listeners. And if you'd like to know more, like Ms. Thakur said, you can go to our website, eyemedics.co.uk, and read the blog in detail. If you have any more questions, do write into us. Until next time, take care of your eyes, and remember, your vision is worth protecting.